All right. Good morning, everybody. It's another day, another video. So, today, without further ado, we are going to be dealing with the Countifs, the Sumifs, and Averageifs functions. Now, these are very, very critical functions that will help you in your analysis. And then we're going to see how to introduce or incorporate some other things we've been doing so far in with Count. All right. So, this is a typical report. This is a report for students. Like we have some students there that took some tests, and then they took tests in Excel, Power BI, and Python. And then we have total marks. We have the average marks for the tests they took, and then we are generating a report for them. So we're going to be applying those functions: the Countifs, the count, sum, and the averageif functions on these reports to give us what we're looking for actually. So without further ado, let's go. So to find, first of all, let's find the total marks. You know what to do already. Let's just do it real quick as if you don't know. Sum, use the sum function, and then we select it from here, drag it. We have that. And total marks, we can just drag it down. Everybody found out. That's it. How about for the average? Average function is equals to average. We use average, and then we're looking for the average between this Excel, Power BI, and Python. And then we enter 56 for blessing, and we drag it down like this, like so, and that's it. All right, so let's find the total scores that we had for Excel in our report here. So we say equals to sum already. Sum, bring this down. Right. Okay. And then we drag the total for every other thing there. All right, so that's it. That's very, very familiar. We know that. So let's just move into a bit of analysis. Analysis simply means let us answer some questions, right? Okay, so first thing we're looking at is the number of students. How many students took part in this test? All right, so we're going to be using our count function, count. Now we have count and we have the counter. Now, what does the count do? The count the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. So only numeric values are being counted when using the count function, while the counter has to do with count number of cells in a range that are not empty. So in this case, let's use the counter here so that we'll be dealing with number of students. So I don't particularly need this. I can use this particular range, or I can use this one. Either ways, but so the counter function actually is best for any cell that is not empty. So coming here, we check on this range of cells. Now we can count all the total number of students that are taking the test or that took the test, and there are 10 altogether. So how about the number of subjects? Number of subjects, my guess ready equals to counter again. Counter, and then what are the subjects we have? Excel, Power BI, Python. I'm just going to hover them around like this, and then enter. We have three subjects. Okay, let's look at the maximum marks for each of the subjects. Let's see the maximum marks for Excel. Now, what do we do? My guess equals to max function, max, double click, and then we select this range of cells here. And then we can tell that the maximum we had for Excel was 89. And as you know the drill already, I don't need to do the functions or write them out again. I simply drag them like this to the right. And then now that 75 is the highest mark we have for Power BI, and 75 is the highest mark we have for Python. All right, so that's about the maximum mark. Let's look at the minimum marks. The minimum marks, the opposite of maximum marks, we say min, like this, and double click. Then we select the range of cells here, like so. Then we enter. We have 39 to be the minimum for Excel, and we drag it like so. So we have 25 for Power BI, and then 30 for Python. Now, let's move into something more, a bit, yes, a bit dramatizing. Like, all right, let's look at number of students that score greater than 60. Number of students that score greater than 60 in Excel. All right, students that score greater than 60. That's where we're going to be using the Countifs function. There is a condition attached to this count. All right, students that score greater than 60. Okay, what do? Equals to count. Countifs function, and it brings out, so we have the range and then we have the criteria. All right, there's another way I'm going to do this. Okay, you know this already. I just come to my insert function here, and I'll select the range and then the criteria. So we are looking for a number of students that score greater than 60 in the Excel range. Okay, so I check my Excel range here. That's my range. And now the criteria is that should be what? They score greater than 60. And then I enter. So we can tell that 4 students scored greater than 60 in Excel. And you know already, I just need to, I'll drag the formula out like this. I'll drag it out to copy it. Then we can tell that 5 students scored greater than 60 in Power BI, and then 4 students scored greater than 60 in Python. Already, you know how we did that. Now, how about let's check number of students that had less than that failed. So the failure criteria is that you must have less than 40. So if you have less than 40, means you failed. Okay, so let's do that. We are counting the number of students that had less than 40. All right, in Excel. So you simply say equals to Countifs. So it's with the condition. Remember, I select my insert function here, and I select my range of cells. Then once my criteria less than 40, less than 40, and I enter. So we have only one student scored less than 40, right? Okay, and then that's in Excel, and that for Power BI, we drag it down like so. We have 2 for Power BI, and then 2 for Python. All right, so that said, and that said, we still make progress. Okay, the next thing we're going to be looking at now is the total marks of students that are greater than 60 marks in Power BI. Total marks of students. All right, so we have the total marks here. Now, we're looking for the total marks of students that scored greater than 60 in Power BI. So there is a condition here. So looking at adding, giving us the sum total, all right, of total marks of students that scored 60 in Power BI. So now, yes, for that, let me explain what we are trying to do here. Under the total marks, those people that scored 60, greater than 60 in Power BI, then sum their total marks. So we check here, we're doing that manually. We can check in Power BI row here, 55, no, 65, yes. All right, so the total mark of this person, 218 account. 52, no, 25, 20, 75, yes. 225 total marks, so we count like that. Okay, so that does typical thing we're trying to achieve there. So what do we do in this case? We are using the Sumifs function. So it says equals to Sumifs, all right, because we have more than one criteria, and then we select our function here. Sum range, okay, we have the sum range and we have the criteria range. In this case, our sum range is the total mark, because that's what we are looking forward to summing. The condition should meet it before we can. The criteria range should meet the sum range before we can sum it. So we select the total mark is what we're about to sum. So we are telling the computer, if Power BI, a student score more than 65, then sum is total marks. All right. So let's go to the criteria range. The criteria range here is what? Power BI. So we select our Power BI like this. And then what's the criteria? Okay, the criteria is now should score greater than 60. Greater than 60 in Power BI. And then okay. So we can tell that we have 986. Now, how did we get that answer? How did we know it's true? We'll click on this. So, okay, we just check. Student that scored greater than 60 in Power BI. Student that scored greater than 60. All right, let's use some conditional formatting to check that out. I would have, okay, let me manually first. I'll say this like so. I'll come and select, I now highlight it 65. Okay, the yellow. I check for the next one, 75. Then highlight that. All right, something like that. And It's not too cool. We data analyst, so we should do better. All right, so I'm going to undo that. I'm going to undo that, and then I'm going to be using my conditional formatting. And then I select this like this. Then I come to my conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, and I say greater than 60. So I greater than 60. All right, so the one that I greater than 60 is what we're dealing with now. Okay, and we okay. So because of that, we can now check greater than 60. Okay, so 75, 65 here, we have 218. 75 here, 225. 64 here, 208. All right, 65 here, this, 65 here, that. So as simple as that, and then we are going to get this. Okay, so let us just do it and see whether it's true. Equals to 65 total sum first. Yes, so many to be sure. 218, comma, 75 to 25, comma, 64, 206, comma, 65, 140, comma, 65, 195, and then we enter and vowel. We have the same thing, 986. So we're just using this to kind of like confirm the sum if function, right? So we are summing based on criteria, right? So I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to remove clear all formatting here. As you already know, I'm coming here to do, come down here, clear cells rule, clear rows from selected cells. I remove that formatting. All right, the next one is average marks of students greater than 60 marks in Power BI. So you see the same question, like total marks. More, we are finding the average marks of students. So we're going to be using the average if function. So it is an average based on the condition. So what do we do? Equals to average if, check for average if. All right. So average if now I come here to my insert function. So I beg your pardon, please. But now what's my average range? My average range here is that this total mass here. In total mass, I'm going to be looking for the average range. All right. Please, we are not looking for the sum here. It's the average. So the total mass is what we are averaging. So I'm going to select that out. And then what is the criteria range? The criteria range is Power BI. Average mass of students that score greater than 60 in Power BI. So I'm coming to Power BI here. Like so, I drag it down. And then what's the criteria? Criteria is greater than 60. And then boom, voila, we have 197, and that's correct. 1972. Okay, so you can always check it out. We are looking at the average. Okay, for those whoever scores greater than 60 in Power BI, then average the total mark of that person. Clear, right? All right, so let's move to the next one. Now, number of students greater than 60 marks in all subjects. We are looking for the number of students, please. Don't confuse count with sum. So the number of students is simply the count, right? So we're looking for number of students that score greater than 60 marks in all subjects, okay? People that score greater than 60 marks in all subjects. So a student that scored 60 marks, greater than 60 in Excel, greater than 60 in Power BI, greater than 60 in Python. That's what we're looking for here. So we're going to be using our Countifs, all right? Countifs function. I select that. Okay. Then normally I'll come to my insert function here. And then criteria range. We are looking for number of students. Okay. Number of students, number of students, number of students. All right. That score greater than 60 in all subjects. So all subjects we go. First criteria range, we find Excel. Did it score greater than 60? I'm sorry, greater than 60. Okay. We move to the next subject, Power BI. We roll it down. Did it score greater than 60? Okay. We move to the last range, Python. Then we drag it down. Did it score? We move it down. Did it score greater than 60? And then, okay. So we can see that 3 students actually scored greater than 60. Okay, 3 students actually score greater than 60. How true is that? Let's confirm. All right. So we are going to be using our conditional formatting. Again, I'll select all our scores and then conditional formatting. You know the drill already. I'm looking at greater than 60. Greater than 60 and Fowler. So we can tell that from here, only one person, Blessing, scored 67, only one subject. Okay, so let's see the people that scored greater than 60 across all subjects. So we can tell this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. And those our Countifs function is correct. I can come and clear my cell for my team, clear all rows from the selected cells, and voila, we continue. Now let's move to the next query. Let's move to the next query. Query or analysis is still the same thing. Okay. All right. So what you're doing, you're answering questions. So you're analyzing. Okay. So this is what we call analysis. Okay. The next thing, total marks of students greater than 60 marks in all subjects. We are looking at giving us the sum total of students. All right. Their sum total for students that score 60 marks in all subjects. Remember that we have the count of those students at 3. Okay, we have 3 students that score 60, 60, 60 across all subjects. Now we're looking at the total marks. So you want to be summing their total marks now. Okay, so what do we do? This time we use Sumifs now. Sumifs. Sumif, and then you know my drill already. Function of the sum range is what are we looking at? The sum range. We're looking at total marks is a sum range, and we select it like so. And then criteria range. Criteria range 1 is that we have to check for the first subject, Excel, we check the range of Excel like this. And what's the condition? Greater than 60. And now we go to the criteria range 2, which is Power BI, and then criteria is what? Greater than 60. And then we move to the next one, the last one, criteria range 3, Python. We make sure we check to know whether this person scored more than 60, and then we vowel out. So the answer is what? 651. 651. How do we confirm it? Okay. Normally, you know the drill already. So what I'm going to do is this. I simply select this to check for conditional formatting. Conditional formatting like this. Greater than, looking at greater than. Okay, greater than 60. Okay, so we can tell already. And that's it, Viola. Wow. So this 218, this 225, this 208. If you total everything, you should have 625. If you doubt me, let's do it and see. All right, let's see. Equals to sum. Okay, 218, comma, 255, comma, 208, and we enter Babala 651. So we have justified our Sumif function. Now let's look at the average marks of students greater than 60 marks in all subjects. Average marks of students, the average marks of students greater than 60 in all function, the average mark of students. Now, don't make the mistake of using this the average range we have here to work this out, because you're going to fail woefully. And now we're looking at the average marks of students, because if you're using the average marks, you're going to be averaging what we have already averaged here. So the average should be dealing with the total marks here. So what do? It's equals to averageifs already. Double click on that, and then we come here. This is sleek average range. Now the average range is the total mark. We come here, select the total marks here. Remember, not the average, this other average, not this average. This one have already been averaged for us now. So we are dealing with the total mass. You want to find the average range. So the criteria range is this. So we're going to find the criteria range for Excel. We bring it down like so, and then we say the criteria is greater than 60. Okay, for the next one, Power BI, we bring it down like so, and we say greater than 60 as well. Then for the next one, criteria range 3. Okay, for Python. Okay. greater than 60. And then okay, and we can tell that our average is what 217. 217. And now how do we get the answer? Now, if you want to confirm that, if you want to confirm if it's actually true, remember that I told you don't deal with this particular average because this average have already been done. This particular column is an average column. So if I want to get to know that, I'm going to be summing the average. I'm going to be summing these averages. This time I'm summing the average, okay? For this particular one, I'm averaging the sum. I'm averaging the sum. This one is sum function. I'm averaging the sum. While here, I am summing the average. Okay, what are we going to do? We say equals to what? This 73 equals to 73 sum function. 73 plus the next one, 75 plus the next one, 69. And whoa, voila, answer is 217. All right, so that was that. We've come the wrap up of our class now. Very simple, very straightforward, and I believe that you should be able to know how to use the counter, Countifs, Sumifs, averageifs function. All right, so keep practicing like I used to say, then see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.